right. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2020 Dewey Beach Candidates Forum, brought to you by the Dewey Beach Business Partnership. We're here on a lovely Sunday afternoon at the gazebo, looking on Van Dyke Street, looking over the bay. I'm Rob Marshall, serve on the Dewey Business Partnerships board. We also have Steve Montgomery here, also a board member, serving today as our producer. Our film crew is provided by GCFL Productions. This event is new for us this year. We do host several events every year. Please take a few minutes to look at our Facebook page and our website to get more information about all of those events that we have and about our Dewey Beach business partners, or local businesses. However, the focus today is on these special people here who've chosen to volunteer their time for the Dewey Beach community. I'd like to introduce to you the candidates for the two commissioner seats. We have David Moskowitz, Gary Persinger, and Bill Stevens. Welcome, and let me tell you a little bit about the format. Today's format will include opening statements of 3 minutes, followed by several questions allowing for 1 minute to respond. We will rotate the candidate answering answering first after each question. And finally, the candidates will have a 2-minute closing statement. Does everybody understand?
Thank you. Yes.
Good. Well, don't take any more time with me. We're going to get right to things. So, Mr. Moskowitz, are you ready for your opening statement?
I'm ready.
All right, let's have it.
I'm Commissioner David Moskowitz. Dewey Beach is my full-time residence with my 16-month-old daughter. I started volunteering for Dewey in 2014 as investment committee chair. That's after someone who ran for commissioner, took the town's money and invested it in their own company, and then a friend's company. Wrong share class, high commission, no investment policy, and even a margin call. As investment chair, I helped the town put in place a policy that made $1.1 billion in investment income for the town. As commissioner liaison, I continued to work with the investment committee. For the last 2 years, I have been your town commissioner working hard. We have accomplished a lot, including a roadmap of how to fix internal financial and police issues. But changes take time. We put in economic scenarios to help the town prepare for this economic pandemic. I'm running for re-election to continue to progress. Learn more at my website, deweybeach2020.com. As commissioner, I go to both town and committee meetings. I have been keeping the town informed on the need to fix beach mats, better traffic signs, potholes filled in, and raising money for beach wheelchairs. I proposed and voted on having all town meetings streamed. I got the streaming audio problems that plagued the town for several years fixed. I'm the person who reminds the town when they forget to push the button to stream the town meetings. I've been encouraging the town to get multiple estimates to fix the leaking life-saving station roof. I successfully proposed recording the police phone lines and suggested the lighted crosswalks. When property owners couldn't get responses from the departed town manager, I followed up till issues were responded to. I worked with the State Department of Health to develop language so small swimming pools like those in Dewey could open in the pandemic. After storms, I went to take pictures of my neighbor's property because damage from flooding. It's the right thing to do, and my daughter enjoys the stroller ride. I'm a chartered financial analyst, CPA, and have HR certifications. But being a town commissioner is more than that. I have worked hard at preparing myself to be a well-informed commissioner by completing 18 FEMA classes on how to deal with disasters and flooding. I completed multiple grant writing courses. I have a good working relationship with the Center for Inland Bays in helping get the Redevy project off the ground, and we are hopeful for Sunset Park. It's easy to talk about unifying the town, but the current council has been productive in the face of an economic pandemic. We lost our town manager, but I have the institutional knowledge to pass to the next town manager. Knowledge of all the various hundreds of tasks that need to be prioritized and worked on. Don't mess with success. We have the chance to hire a great town manager, and we can get things right for our town. I have a list of items if re-elected, including managing finances, offset the economic pandemic, increased responsiveness and communication with constituents, improve safety and address infrastructure and flooding. It's a big learning curve for new commissioners. With the pandemic, it's important to have the qualifications and experience so we can hit the ground running. Commissioner David Moskowitz, find out more, deweybeach2020.com.
Thank you, David. Gary, are you ready?
I want to thank the Dewey Business Partnership for sponsoring the forum today, and to thank each of you for viewing live or watching more conveniently after we conclude today. My name is Gary Persinger, and I've owned property in Dewey Beach for more than 30 years. Street on the north end, and now Dickinson Street on the south end. Thanks to the voters of Dewey Beach, I've served as a commissioner since 2016. I am once again asking for your vote to continue serving as a commissioner and keep Dewey Beach on the path forward, hopefully accelerating the pace of progress. I am a strong proponent for fiscal responsibility, understandable laws and regulations, and government that is open to public participation and accountable to those we serve. And we have made progress on those priorities. The budget we approved in March, although now complicated by the COVID-19 pandemic, provides for all town operations, but includes as well allocations for future needs. But we still need to recognize in our budget process the beginnings of a capital expenditure fund that will allow the town to replace needed equipment and town facility improvements. We recently submitted to the state legislature a comprehensive set of changes to the town charter intended to make clear the lines of authority within the town and ensure that interpretation and application of the provisions of the charter are clear and consistent. The town code awaits the same treatment. We have now online viewing and a rich archive of commissioner meetings and more recently meetings of all committees and groups that meet as public bodies under town government. But increasing public participation in the government process remains a challenge. Now added to the work facing commissioners is the hiring of a new town manager. In my view, the new town manager must be both an effective manager of town operations and services and also someone who understands the need for effective communication within the town government operation, with the commissioners and other bodies within the town, with the business community, and equally important with the public. While the town manager position can be challenging, effective communication, in my view, paves the way for resolving disparate positions on key issues and is essential to success. A town commissioner is a volunteer position, but it creates for me a very strong sense of personal responsibility. The quality of the decisions made by the town council is dependent on putting in the time and effort, doing the homework needed to come to meetings prepared and ready to engage knowledgeably in the debate and have some influence in decisions that are made. Finally, the productivity of the town council depends importantly on discussions and debates that are collegial and respectful. Discussion, debate, even disagreement can be part of a healthy government process, but suspicion, rancor, and innuendo cannot. Working together cooperatively, respectfully, and collegially will put us on the best path to progress. I look forward to that path and hope that I can count on your vote this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
I am.
Good. All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Stevens. I am a Dewey Beach full-time resident. I started coming to Dewey back in 1990 as a young man. Started renting here in 2012, and my wife and I are fortunate enough to be full-time residents now after purchasing our home in 2017. Let me start by giving you a little bit of background on why I'm here, and why all three of us are here is simply because we love this town and we want to make sure that it continues to progress forward. I know that I can do the job because it's actually what I do for a living. I am a chief financial officer of a multi-million-dollar company, and I have clients that also provide that service for. I have an undergraduate degree in finance and a master's degree in accounting from Loyola University. I've had 6 years in public accounting, another 6 years as a controller of a publicly traded company. I spent several years turning around companies in the 90s, so I know how to get companies out of having issues and getting them on the financial foothold that they're going to need. I've also helped 3 companies come out of Johns Hopkins University as startups and build up to what I think, as I looked at this morning, over $400 million in capital raised for those 3 entities. I am a team player. I know how to get people to work together, and I've worked with each of the 2 men to my right. I know how to get people to understand the value of variances and understand why people think differently and come to a common conclusion. And I know as a commissioner for the town of Dewey Beach, I'll be able to continue that work and to unify and to bring a single vision back and help us continue to grow. So if you want to find out more, please go to stevensfordewey.com. Look forward to helping and continue to help. Please vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And for those out there watching, you can't see me now. I'm doing my best to try and help my microphone problem and keeping my back to the wind, which means my back to you. So we're going to start now with our questions. We'll begin with Gary. We are starting with a finance question, which sounds like all of you are pretty interested in the finances of the town, so I'll be interested to hear the answers here. During town meetings earlier this year, the commissioners stated that because of the effects of the virus pandemic on rentals, etc., the town could lose over $1 million of income from a $3.5 million total budget. Lately, because of Dewey's hot real estate market, bringing increased transfer tax income, predictions have improved. But estimates up to several $100,000 of losses still remain. What do you suggest the town do to make up the difference and balance the town budget before the March 31st end of our fiscal year? Gary begins.
Yeah,
If you need me to read again, let me know.
We certainly have been talking about this since the beginning of the pandemic, and the estimates were quite high. We identified, I think, 3 different possible ways of addressing it. We could simply take money out of the reserves, we could go to a commercial line of credit, or we could do something like borrowing from the beach fund. When I've looked at the latest numbers, and I don't have anything beyond July, we don't have the August figures yet, they're not publicly available, and make some reasonable adjustments and look just at what is in our budget. There are some things that show up as expenditures which are really paid for from other pots. I think we're probably going to be short somewhere around $200,000 to $225,000, something in that order of magnitude. Lots of caveats with that. We won't know more until we get to October and we see what the accommodations taxes look like. But certainly, as was pointed out in the question, transfer tax may actually help us somewhat as well. So I think it actually might be reasonable for us to borrow from ourselves, and that is in terms of borrowing from our reserves, not the beach fund, but we have a little over $1 million in short-term investments with Brown Advisory. We have about $1 million in our general fund right now. I think we could set up something where we could cover that gap and agree to pay ourselves back at a reasonable rate of return, since interest rates are so low right now, and use that as the basis for beginning a capital expenditure fund. So that would be my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Bill, you're next.
Yes, I'll come at it from the very perspective, in the sense that I've been on the investment committee, I've been on the audit committee, and I've been chair of the budget and finance committee. Gary's actually my liaison for the budget and finance side, so I know that we know the numbers pretty well. I was asked recently about the dire, how they put it, insecure situation that we have here in Dewey. And I don't look at it as insecure. We have a $9.8 million net fixed net assets, meaning that we have $9.8 million more assets than liabilities. We have a debt-free balance sheet. When we look at the financial statements for the year ended March 31st, what you'll find is a very strong financial statement in that position. When we looked at the financials coming into this pandemic, there was general concern of whether or not we were going to be able to hit our budget. And I think if you look right now to the July financial statements, what you're going to see is that we're at $1.4 billion versus $1.5 budget. And that budget was not changed due to the pandemic. When you correct for, there's 2 accounting errors, I believe, that are going to be changed as soon as the new town manager are able to fix it. But there are elements up there, capitalized equipment, as well as payment of loans that are really just at $60,000 and $70,000. The town itself is $40,000 compared to where it thought it was going to be. So we're actually ahead of where we were from a budget perspective, which was budget. Commissioner Persinger's right. We are up on transfer tax. I think everyone, this pandemic has basically, people realized that we didn't have a game plan for it, but I think we're going to have one going forward.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
David.
Yes, most of the money is already spent this summer as far as expenses. We asked the town manager to cut in June as commissioners, and he ended up, and we gave him discretion, but he ended up leaving in the peak of summer. So honestly, we're going to have to deal with this summer, learn from it a little, and spend from savings. It's not always bad to spend from savings, but it's because you save for that rainy day. The issue is this pandemic could be a multi-year pandemic, and the town needs to have economic scenarios in place next year for the budget. You need a best case, a base case, a worst case, and a stress case, and plan accordingly. So if the best case happens, the town adjusts, because a lot of the town is seasonal employees. Mayor Cook is famous for saying the town survives on nickels and dimes. And the town does have savings, but it's restricted money, some of it intended to replenish the beach, which costs a lot. The town also has huge capital needs coming up. If you don't replace a police car, you push it up to next year, you still incur the depreciation cost. And of course, if a police car is 30 grand and you have 6 years, you're still encountering that 5,000 a year or so to basically budget and replace it. You also have the roof on the life-saving station and other things. We need to do a better job of economic scenarios and budget planning ahead of time, not for the last minute. Another thing that could occur is having more cross-training of employees. You have a lot of seasonal employees, and just an example, you have a police department and a code enforcement, and you can have them cross-train among each other and save some money. Next.
The next question is going to go over to Bill for the first answer. Keep in mind that we're at the 1 minute mark on questions.
Yes, sir.
It's tight, but we're going to try and stick with it. We'll try and give a little leeway when we've got noise that interferes with us. This question is going to be on infrastructure. Dewey Beach does not have a property tax, as we all know. With the current financial issues due to the pandemic and current infrastructure issues caused by flooding from sea level rise, do you believe we need some sort of guaranteed source of income to help pay for infrastructure improvements? What priority do you place on the town's infrastructure needs? Bill.
Well, let me reiterate. I don't believe that we're in a bad situation right now. We are in a pandemic. We have had situations of people getting COVID. I have actually had COVID-19, so I know personally what it can do. I don't believe this town, I don't believe the commissioners of this town will ever approve a tax. It's part of the reason why we're here. But we're also very fortunate that we have over 30,000 people that come visit us every year and enjoy the bay, the beach, our restaurants, as well as the other amenities. I think we need to find sustainable revenue streams, not to use Commissioner Cubs, but that's more nickels and dimes. For those that are actually coming here, we cannot pull back on safety. So we've got to make sure that we're providing the beach safety and the public safety in terms of the police, and those budgets can never be cut. But I do believe that there are revenue streams that we can develop that are not tax-based.
Thank you, Bill. Gary, question to you. I'm sorry, David. David.
So the town has a pizza pie. The pizza pie is a small pie, so everyone's fighting over those 6 slices. But the town could improve its grant writing and make it a large pie. And then instead of fighting over slices, you get more to go around. So I would say the town manager, the new town manager that gets hired, needs to be someone who's experienced with grant writing and can spearhead it for the town, so the town has an extra revenue source, not going for the town's money. Because I do not believe we need a property tax. We do need better analytics, and we also need to understand what our capital needs are. We need to understand what our expenses are. You can't just ask for money when you don't even know what you have and what you need. But I mean, the town needs to do a better job, but it's in the grant writing department. That's how we did Reed Avenue, and that's how we have something in for Sunset Park, and we hope to do that to help the infrastructure needs of the town.
Thank you, David. And now to you, Gary.
Sure. In a town that's 2 blocks wide, that is, with the ocean on one side and the bay on the other, stormwater management has to be a real priority for us, and it is certainly for me. We, in fact, have devoted more money to infrastructure improvements. We recently reorganized some of the accounts that we have set aside for future needs. We put more money into infrastructure. There's about $650,000 right now in the infrastructure account that's available for projects directed at stormwater management. We put 20% of building permits into that infrastructure account each month. We put money from transfer tax into infrastructure, and there's one other revenue stream that we put some money into infrastructure as well. But in any case, it is a high priority. I agree that no matter how much money we have, we'll never have enough. And that grant writing is certainly an important part of it, certainly partnering with other organizations. Many of the projects that we have engaged in have been with Center for Inland Bays. They're certainly a very good partner, and those are the kinds of people we need to work with, because you get good projects, and you get projects also that are environmentally sound.
Thank you. This question, if we're looking at again, I think we're going to break our own. It's going to be for David. Yes, David's going to be the next one up. It seems to be a little bit longer of a question, so we're going to allow timekeeper just a bit more, up to 2 minutes, I think, for this question. It's on planning and zoning. The Planning and Zoning Committee is presently holding hearings to possibly change the size and setback requirements for houses within Dewey Beach. Here's the several parts of the question. Should larger houses be allowed? Should the limit be kept at the present 2.5-story limit, or should 3-story houses be allowed in the neighborhood residential district? Should rooftop decks be allowed? Should yard setbacks be changed and allow buildings to be closer to the streets? All of those things come to what is your vision of the future for Dewey Beach and the residential area?
So the North End is important to many, and I look forward to P&Z getting something done to act on the needs of the people. And P&Z, they have public hearings, 15 days notice. The public has been involved. The town can do a better job of getting communications out to let people know there's a hearing. Perhaps it needs to be done in mailing when it goes from P&Z to the commissioners. But it's something the town's been working at. But I am a sitting commissioner right now, and I may be re-elected, and this is a matter that may come before me. And as I cannot prejudge it, till there's a town hearing on the subject, and we hear from the people, I can't make any determination. I need to hear from the people and the property owners and all that. First of all, from the P&Z, I need a draft plan, and then I need to hear from the people before I can make any determination. Till that time, I wouldn't want to prejudge any public hearing.
Okay. Gary.
Okay. Yeah, the Planning and Zoning Commission is kind of in the early to mid stages of this whole process of looking at architectural requirements, not just in the North End, but in other zoning districts within the town as well. And, you know, there's no, you know, if you look at any single thing that they're trying to change, whether it's roof decks or it's 2.5 stories or it's the overall size, there's no single answer that works best. I mean, you have to look at all of those things in combination. If you think if you did not allow roof decks, you required a certain slant on the roof, and you allow the roofs to go to the buildings to go to 3 stories, what would that look like visually? What would that look like architecturally? I think people are interested in having the ability to build architecturally interesting designs. I think there is a fair amount of support for reducing the size of the buildings that are available. Right now in the North End, on a 50 by 100 lot, you can build a 5,000 square foot house. That's quite a large house. In the NR district, I'm sorry, in the it is the NR district. In the RR district, which is down in this area, you can build a house actually that's 6,000 square feet. Again, quite a large house. So we need to work with the public as closely as possible to find the right balance of changes. There's no good answer for any single change. I think we need to find the right balance among all of the things that are being considered for change.
And Bill? Still good with the question?
Can you repeat the question, because it seems like it's a long time ago since you actually asked it.
Okay. I'll skip just to the question parts.
Yes, that'd be great.
The preamble. Should larger houses be allowed? Should the limit be kept at the present 2.5-story limit, or 3-story houses be allowed in the neighborhood residential district? Should rooftop decks be allowed? Should yard setbacks be changed to allow the buildings to be closer to the streets? And comprehensively, what is your vision of the future of Dewey Beach relating to housing?
So if there's no one right answer, or else we would already have that answer done, and it wouldn't be a topic of discussion right now. I think the issue comes into, at what point does the government come in and dictate what an owner of a town, owner of a house can or cannot do. The laws are set to protect people, and they're set also to protect your rights, and as a right to build a house without infringing upon another's right, and to be able to have a home, not just to be a home. It's not for the town to determine whether you can have 4,000 square feet or 6,000 square feet. But I will tell you this, there are certain limitations that make sense. The fact that we're trying to restrict things to 35 feet, that's for everyone's benefit. It's for everyone to be able to enjoy the sky and be able to look at the air. I do have a rooftop deck on my house, and it's very beneficial because I'm able to have a wonderful view of sunset. But I'm also not infringing upon anyone to do that. So do I think people should be able to build larger homes? I think they should be able to build the home the size that they would like to build. But again, not infringe upon the next door neighbor. When we were in Baltimore, there was there were restrictions on rooftop decks. For example, they had to be 8 feet back off the property line so that for anyone walking, you can see them. Those are the types of things I think that people need to understand is how can you have what you want without infringing on others? So larger houses, yes. If you want to go to 3 stories, but not above 35 feet, you should be able to. If you want to be able to move on, you have a property, you should be able to do that. Again, not infringe upon others. And I think the rules should be fair to everyone. I think it should be applied to everyone, not just a few.
Thank you all. Going back down to our 1-minute response time, and we're going to begin this question with Gary. This one's a little personal to me and Vince, who's here with us at the Hyatt tonight. Dewey Beach commissioners recently voted to approve the ability to charge up to a 3% tax on hotels to pay into Dewey's revenue stream. As of April 21st, the hotels will be assessed a 1% tax payable to the town. This has created a 9% total tax levy against hotels in town. The short-term rentals in town pay a 3% tax. Do you intend to support increasing the hotel tax, furthering this competitive imbalance?
Well, first of all, it sounds like there's some misunderstanding about what the effect of the law that we passed. First of all, we asked for the authority to impose such a tax. We did not say that we were going to impose a tax. And we said that we would not impose that tax before the beginning of the next fiscal year, which would be April 1, 2021. We also said that it could be no more than 1.5%. We were trying to put ourselves on the same equal footing, I think, as other surrounding regions, other surrounding jurisdictions here. Rehoboth has a hotel tax. I think Sussex County probably has a hotel tax as well. So to the extent that there was a competitive advantage to not having a hotel tax or having a lower one, I think we were sensitive to that. I mean, I wrote the last version of the law that we eventually passed, making sure that it would be no more than 1.5%, and that's not guaranteed, and that it could go up no more than 0.5% a year until it reached the maximum of 3%. This is not part of the ordinance that was passed, but we had a great deal of discussion about when and if we would pass such a tax, and it was very clear, I think, around the table that we were all very concerned that if we were to enact such a tax, actually impose it, that there would have to be a specific purpose for which that tax would be levied. And so that requires a lot of discussion. I would expect we would have a lot of discussion with the hotel owners before we were to impose such a tax. But again, we wanted to do it gradually. We wanted to maintain, at least for some time, some competitive advantage of not having a full-scale tax.
Your answer, please.
Sure. So the Budget and Finance Committee was probably the largest proponent of the hotel tax, and the reason being, when Gary was the liaison, he'll tell you that the conversations were such that we were looking around, seeing that there was competing towns that had a hotel tax. The commission themselves did not want to put that hotel tax and even thought that Rehoboth wouldn't be able to get it through, and then Rehoboth passed, and then Sussex County passed. I was a big proponent because what I wanted was that money, if there was to be a tax, it would stay in town. If there was to be a tax, it would stay in town and also help the hotel owners in terms of their marketing and be able to put those dollars back into generating more revenue for them. Things that I've talked about in terms of what to do with that hotel tax, it even could be looked at excise tax. Every hotel owner right now in this town is suffering due to COVID-19. They're not hitting the numbers that they had last year. And I believe in equal taxation. If there is a accommodation tax, we know that there's an accommodation tax right now on people that are renting their properties. I think we do a poor job in enforcing that, and I think we need to do a better job in making sure those funds are coming in, even if there's a level of saying, over a certain level, you're paying tax, because we have friends and family. So people that you're charging, you may not be perceived as an accommodation. It's more of a friendship thing. But I think that needs to be fair. I think that it needs to be fair that the hotels do not pay more than
Great. Thank you, Bill.
owners.
David, we'd like to hear from you now.
Yeah, we are not Rehoboth. We are Dewey Beach, and we work with Rehoboth, but we also compete with Rehoboth. And it's not equal taxation because it's 8%, but 5% goes to the state, 1% goes to beach replenishment, and another 2% goes to visitors. So 3% is just way too punitive. And then you have the surf club owners who are stuck in the hotel thing, so they'd be paying 8% plus that 3%. But I actually am a commissioner, and I voted against this, feeling it was too punitive and it would hurt the hotels in the face of an economic pandemic. I just think that it's very important to understand the town does need money, but asking 3% on top of 8% gets out taxed to 11%, and I just think it's too punitive for hotels. I think a much smaller amount is what we can deal with as a town, and that's what it was, and that's why I voted against it.
Thank you, David. Okay. Next up, we're going to have a question starting with Bill. I'm going to go with a public safety question. Dewey's police and lifeguards are the backbone of our town. Please give us your stance on the future operation of our police and lifeguards in terms of keeping Dewey a safe beach town. Is there anything, in your opinion, that could be done differently, along with the inclusion, could be done differently in your eyes, along with the inclusion of parking enforcement going back under the police department supervision? You may want me to read that again.
You like the multiple point questions, don't you, Rob? So no, I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
I have a tough time with
no, I'm good with it. So I believe. Look, we're a town, right? We're a town. First of all, we're a beach town. So we have the lifeguards as well. We have the police. Our public safety is of the utmost importance. Cutting any of those expenses are they should not be part of the conversation in terms of how to save money. We should be giving every resource to the police and the lifeguards that they need to get their jobs done. It's not easy what they do, and we should be supporting them with new equipment, training, whatever they need in order to accomplish their goals. Cutting back does not make sense for anyone. I had a conversation recently that apparently even an accidental death on the beach costs the town to $1 million to $1.5 million, and that's not worth saving a few dollars in terms of lifeguard fees. We need to continue to enforce the code, and I think the town made a mistake this year when they did not put the code enforcement people back on the streets. The 3 out of the 4 actually did not want to commit because of COVID or financial. That cost the town over $300,000 if you look at the actual budget in terms of code enforcement. We need to have the code there, and I do believe the code. My personal opinion is that code enforcement should be under the police department. And I also think that from a police department and captain lifeguards, they work with the town manager in terms of figuring out how to accomplish those goals. And none of us are skilled to run a police department. None of us are skilled to be a lifeguard. That's why we have them in those jobs.
Okay, thank you. David.
Yes, so as soon as I took office, the first thing I noticed is the police were underpaid. And just an example, seasonal police were getting $10 to $10.50, where Rehoboth was getting $14 an hour, and I worked to get the police paid appropriately, the seasonal police and regular police officers. I also worked with the town police to update the police law book, and also to spearhead recording the emergency police calls. But the key thing is we need to hire a town manager to make any organizational changes. The code enforcement change was made by the departed town manager. I did not agree with it. I believe in cross-training, but we need to hire the proper town manager, which Mr. Stevens' wife is on the committee. They're going to give it to the commissioners. We're going to hire a great town manager, and then let him or her make suggestions to us. There's also a police consultant report, which I spearheaded. We have from an expert what needs to be done with the police department. As commissioners, and with the new town manager, we need to prioritize those issues and then start addressing them one by one. A lot of it is low-hanging fruit, and if we work together as a group, we can make progress on that list. And so we already know what's wrong. We have a roadmap. We just need to work together to get it done, and that's why I'm asking for another 2 years so we can get it done.
Thank you, David. Gary, to you.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. We cannot sacrifice public safety, and that's with respect to the police and the lifeguards. I don't think we should certainly take a hatchet to the budget, but I think we need to spend wisely. I think there were some opportunities this season where we could have spent a little more wisely. There could have been some ways in which we could have deployed staff more efficiently and saved some money. And unfortunately, we lost those opportunities. We seem to be quite far behind in terms of parking enforcement. But I think part of that is because we were not able to deploy the seasonal police to fill in where the code enforcement would normally take place, would normally have responsibility. I'm sort of an open mind about folding code enforcement back into the police. I tend to lean against it. I think it seemed to work well the last few years, and it's only with respect to the pandemic that we've really had a problem. As Commissioner Moskowitz said, we do have a police report that points out a number of things that we can do to improve the police department. I think part of what they have been working on is a new policy manual. We need to have ways of making sure that that policy manual is up to date and the police have the appropriate training and the right sensitivity to know how to diffuse situations. There are too many instances throughout the country where things have gotten out of control, and we want to make sure that our police are professional and well trained.
Thank you, Gary. We're going to come back to you, David, with the next question. This is a COVID-related question. As the world figures out how to get back on its feet once the pandemic situation progresses, can you address your views on how Dewey handled things this season, from masks to allowing business expansions and enforcement of codes? Are there things in the future you'd support to increase tourism, knowing it will take years for the town and businesses to recover from the effects of COVID-19?
So hindsight is always 2020. The town worked with the businesses and we expanded outdoor seating. And I'm one of the proponents who would like to evaluate potentially keeping it with proper restrictions and working and having zoning hearings so we have neighbors involved and the businesses, and then finding out if people agree that the outdoor seating has made Dewey a great place. But hindsight is just 2020. Like, we faced a pandemic of unknown proportions, and you can always look back at the face masks. And the one thing the town said is you're required to socially distance. If you can't socially distance, wear a face mask. What the town could do better next year is better communications, and that's the one thing the town needs to do better. They need to get stuff on the website, they need to get stuff on Facebook, and they need to put signs. Maybe face masks are cool. So I want to work with the town, help improve the website, and help get things better. And if you have a better website, it also attracts people looking to visit. So it's an easy fix, and it makes everyone happy. But as town commissioner, I'm happy to meet with residents, I'm happy to meet with businesses, and let people come to us and tell us, let's work together and try to find solutions for an issue that may affect the business. COVID-19 is a multi-year pandemic, and it's something we need to work together to fix with economic scenarios.
Gotcha. Thank you, David. And Gary, how do you feel?
Yeah, COVID-19 has had a significant negative effect on the town, but I think the effect it's had on the town pales in comparison to the effects that businesses have suffered. I saw a statistic in the press just in the last couple of days that said restaurants in Delaware have lost something like $700 million in just two to 3 months. I mean, that's pretty devastating. And I think we'd all like to get back to normal. The policy that Dewey put in place, I think, was good. And it's social distancing or wearing a mask if you can't social distance. In all honesty, I would have voted for wearing a mask throughout the town, just as they have done in Rehoboth. The fastest way to get back to normal is to stop transmission of the disease. We don't have a vaccine. If you walk into any business here in town, you have to have a mask on. Obviously, you can't eat through a mask, but the servers in the restaurants all have to wear masks. I think they've done a great job in abiding by the regulations that are in place. But again, I think Dewey has done a good job. I would have favored wearing a mask throughout the town, just as Rehoboth has done. But we need to get back to normal, and the more that we can do to stop the transmission of this condition, the better off we're going to be.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. And to you, Bill.
Well, obviously I'm a big proponent of masks, so I take one wherever I go and give out as many as I can. You know, the masks are pretty simple. As I stated earlier, my wife and I we were infected by COVID-19. On June 22nd, I tested positive, and last 2 weeks ago, I tested negative again. I continue to get tested. There's a lot of testing that's going on in town. I know some people feel like that masks are infringing upon their rights, and I kind of look at it a little bit differently in the sense that if you wear a helmet and ride your bike, that's to protect your head. If you wear a seatbelt, that's to protect yourself in the car. But the mask is there to protect others, and it is what you should be doing as an individual, as a human being, for everyone else that's around you. There's just no other way of looking at it. You need masks in order to save lives. When I hear about the businesses, every business has gotten hurt through this. And there are many businesses that will not survive as a result of this, and that's incredibly unfortunate. But the masks need to stay. Masks need until we figure out, as Gary pointed out, to figure out a vaccine or a cure. You need to protect the people around you, and it's arrogance if you don't. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And we're coming back to you, Gary, for our next question. This is the final two questions we'll have now. Relating to town hall, we already mentioned a bit about the town manager. So Dewey is on the hunt for the town manager. Our charter sets this town up as a town manager form of operation. What do you see your role as a commissioner in the day-to-day operations of the town? Its department heads. What suggestions do you make to improve the operations of everyday life in our town hall?
Well, I think part of the responsibility for us as commissioners is, in many cases, get out of the way. Let the town government work as it is supposed to. I mean, the reporting relationship should come from, up through the organization, up to the town manager. If the town manager has a problem within the organization, it's at that time that he or she can bring it to the commissioners. I hope that we're able to hire a new town manager. We do have a new search committee that is working very diligently on finding a new town manager. We have the job posted now, I believe, at this point. I believe it went out yesterday, the day before. But in any case, I hope the new town manager can work effectively with the department heads. I think that has been a problem in the past. I think we need to improve those relationships. I think the department heads need to understand that the authority flows up through the town manager, and the town manager needs to take responsibility for managing and being an effective manager with those department heads. I think we'll have a much better organization if that town manager can communicate effectively with those department heads, and I think the town will just run much better that way.
Okay. Moving over to you, Bill.
The problem with this town has been communication. The problem within that communication has been, from what I have perceived as various meetings as well as from the commissioner's perspective, is that the relationship between the town manager and the commissioners has been combative. It has been, it's been unfortunate in the sense that the town manager should provide the town what they need in order to get their job done. The town manager is really the coach, the captain of the team, making sure the police department and code enforcement have what they need. I feel like the town managers here, while they do need, or the commissioners need to help hold them accountable, the town manager accountable, they also need to support that person. They need to give them the tools to let them do their job. The town managers that have left have almost, they've run away from the job versus being supported by the commissioners and the town. It's unfortunate. We need somebody who also, I don't know if the town needs a full reorganization, but we need to have somebody who understands how to work within municipalities, understanding how to get people to do the job, work as a team, and let them do it. And we also need some responsibility in town hall, because I think that's the biggest communication issue that we've had, is whether or not the audit's done right, or the budget's done right, or the actual person's budget has actually been prepared correctly, and it really needs to be held accountable.
Okay, thank you. David.
So the town right now has over 100 tasks to get done. This town manager hire is very critical. We have a diverse town manager search committee. They're going to give the commissioners the top 3 choices. And we need someone who can basically knows a little bit of everything, not just a manager, because Dewey is a town where you're basically wearing many hats and doing those tasks and have to train employees. One of the reasons why I'm running for re-election is having been with Dewey Beach through investment chair and town commissioner, I have the institutional knowledge to pass to the next town manager, to give him the information he needs or her needs, and then let them do the job. Having studied organizational psychology, I mean, there's simple basics that the next person needs to do. They need to have a list of items from the commissioners of what they need to do. They will prioritize it and work with the commissioners to get it done. And you need more communication. You need department meetings, and you also need more cross-training. And it's just a recipe for success for any organization. I think we can all get it done.
Thank you. All right. We are down to starting the next question with Bill. And this will be our final regular question. Parking is a topic in any resort town. Rehoboth has battled with what the right balance is in the past few years. Dewey's seasonal permits have been raised and are comparable to surrounding towns. Dewey Beach offers meters and park mobile services for day trippers, retail, and restaurant customers. What further options could this town consider to make parking a simple and welcoming experience? With you.
Well, parking's obviously a touchy subject here in town, and I can say back to 1990 it was a touchy subject too, except I think we had more tow trucks that were flying around here and just pulling as many cars up as they could. This town needs to have that parking revenue in place. It's one of the, whether it's the parking fees, the parking fines, it's where we generate a lot of the revenue that supports the town of what we do. I do think there should be some balance. I think that it's a little bit too punitive in terms of whether it's an hour or 2 hours of trying to go into a restaurant, that you should be able to do that to get the money back into the restaurateurs, so that they can some people can come in and use those locations. But on the other side of the parking side is, you know, we've had almost every restaurant here has taken what parking they had and converted that into outdoor seating. And I think you should say two reasons. One, it's a nice benefit to have it outdoor seating, especially during the COVID world. But that also means that there's potential revenue that we can take in as a town for people that are actually then going to be parking on the streets. There's no way around it, but I do think you should be able to sit down for $4 and be able to go have a sandwich versus the 20 I think it's in there right now.
Okay, thank you. And David?
Yes, I just want to clarify your question. Seasonal permits were not raised for property owners. I insured that, and it's actually still $150, which is the price for a weekend of New York or perhaps DC parking. And I also worked to add an employee option, so people who are hardworking for the summer pay $200 instead of the $250 for now. The raised rate is only for those who have no connection to Dewey. Commissioner Persinger and I met with the departed town manager, and one of the things about parking we looked at is to make it simpler, because certain blocks are daily parking, certain blocks are hourly parking, and perhaps we want to just have the hourly parking with a minimum of a few hours. Because think about it, one block is $20, another is $3 an hour, and it's very confusing. And if you're just coming for dinner, you may get stuck paying the $20, not railing across the street at $3 an hour, and go elsewhere. And we need to get better communications, because we do compete against other towns like Rehoboth and Bethany for parking. Another thing I've been a proponent for is to keep the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the free parking 5 to 11 p.m., and I let people know to try to, like on off days, just help the businesses and just try to let people know there's parking in Dewey, and you want the businesses to survive. I created a Facebook group, Locals Only Dewey Beach, where everyone's a local, just to get information out, and including parking information. But communications is key, and the town needs to do a better job of communicating parking.
Thank you, David. And Gary, finally to you.
Just in terms of the part of the premise of your question, I don't think we will ever make parking a simple and welcoming experience here in Dewey Beach. My wife hates to be in the car with me when we drive into Rehoboth and I have to look for parking there. It's not a pleasant time, at least from her perspective. Parking is a big revenue source for the town. We have realized that over the last couple of years, and we have raised the parking rates accordingly. Not above what Rehoboth Beach is charging, but I still think a competitive rate. I think one of the things that we should do, or at least try on a test basis, is try to encourage more turnover in the parking spaces. And Commissioner Moskowitz mentioned the fact that some of these parking zones, there are part of the street it's hourly parking, part of the street it's seasonal only parking or weekly parking. We should open it up and see if we can't get some more turnover in the parking spaces. I would only do it on a test basis because I think there may be some misunderstanding about the objective in doing so. And I think we should see how it works, try a couple of streets doing that, see how it works, and then maybe adopt something a bit more expansive throughout town. But again, simple and welcoming. It's going to be a tough problem. There are just a lot of people and too few parking spaces. One of the things I think the town has done in the past is they have kept track of where there are some open parking spaces, and they have been able to provide some directions to people who are looking for parking to send them to some areas where there actually are some available spots. So there are a few things that we can do.
Okay. Thank you all for answering our questions. We're now going to have your closing statements, and we'll begin again with next up is David. As a reminder, we have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Yeah, I'm Commissioner David Moskowitz. I love Dewey Beach. I have a 16-month-old toddler daughter and a dog, and I'm raising her here. And I just love the town. The town has a lot of low-hanging fruit. We can get through it. We can have prioritized lists, hire a great town manager, and just do an amazing job. When I'm investment committee chair, people said it couldn't be done, and we made the town $1.1 million. We will get a great town manager and get through these items. And I have a contract for a better Dewey Beach of 18 items because you want to know who you're voting for. And some of it is managed finances to offset the economic pandemic. Some of it is to increase the responsiveness and communications with constituents, sort of like the website and social media. Some of it is going to improve safety, and some of it is going to address infrastructure and flooding. Because that's the one thing that hasn't been said here enough, is there's some flooding concerns. We need to apply for more grants. We need to get multiple estimates when we go to repair the life-saving station. We need to do some more stuff on the Sunset Flooding Project. And there's great things that I want to be part of, and I hope I get reelected. My website is deweybeach2020.com. And I just thank everyone for their time, and especially the Dewey Beach Business Partnership and Civic League for hosting this. And just from one thing from a past question, I also wanted to thank the police and the lifeguards and all the town employees for what they've been doing this summer. They've been working during a pandemic, and it goes unsaid. These are people, some of them are just seasonal people, and they basically gave their heart out for their town, and I just thank them and thank everyone for listening.
I think we talked a little bit about the pandemic and its effects, and it really has been devastating on business. Again, the town has been affected, but nowhere near to the degree that business has been affected. And I just want to come back to the hotel tax for just for a moment. Given what we've had over this season and the economic effects that we have seen as a result of the pandemic, I can say right now that I would not vote for imposing a hotel tax that begins on April 1, 2021. I don't think that would be warranted at this point. I think all of the businesses in this town need a chance to recover as much as they can within the opportunities that are afforded. I think opportunity is probably the thing that we need most here in town. If we can get the effects of the pandemic set aside, if we can get back to something that begins to look like normal, I think we have the resources and the people here in town to get back to something that we all feel much more comfortable with, to get a better balance of the kinds of activities that we all like to see. We want the beach, we want people to have fun at the beach, but we want the nightlife to be there as well, and that's what we've been missing during this season. And that's part of the reason why our parking has been hit so hard, is because people just aren't staying in town in the evening because the restaurants and the entertainment is not there to take advantage of. We have the finance. If we can get back to some version of normal, we have the resources to run this town. There's enough through parking, transfer tax, accommodations taxes, and we do need to do a better job of collecting the accommodations taxes that we know that are due. If we can do a better job of collecting our revenue, we really do have enough resources to run the town. We need fiscal responsibility. We need to look for some opportunities for beginning a capital expenditure fund. If we not run into this COVID-19 situation, we have enough in our resources that I would have proposed that we start the beginnings of a capital expenditure fund so that we can begin to replace the equipment that we know that is necessary for the town, police department, code enforcement, and just things that are really essential for the town, but we need a source of revenue to do that. So I appreciate the opportunity to run. I've appreciated the opportunity to be a commissioner over the past 4 years. I hope you'll give me an opportunity to be a commissioner for the next 2 years. Thank you.
Great, Gary. Thank you. Bill.
My name is Bill Stevens, and I'm running for commissioner, for the position to be commissioner of the town of Dewey Beach. I'm doing that for multiple reasons. One is that truly care and love this town. It's my only place, my only resident. This is where I am, this is where I live. I know based upon what I've done in my past, I can help with the other commissioners build sustainable revenue streams so that we can be secure. I want to also reiterate that we are secure. We are through a pandemic. What we thought was going to be a challenge of a year, as I reiterated before, we do have $9.9 million in our net assets as of the last audit. We were only $100,000 off of our revenue, and if you look at the set-asides, the net of set-asides, we're $40,000 ahead of budget. So yes, we are going through a pandemic, but we need to make sure that we have an organization that can sustain the programs that we have, support the police and support the lifeguards, and support the life that why we've chosen to be here. I do believe that we need to improve our communications, specifically between the properties and the business owners in town. I don't think that the town does a really good job. I think there needs to be one unified voice that's coming out, and whether that be the town manager or the mayor, that person needs to be able to have a relationship with everyone that's here in town and realize that they're there to support the homeowners. They're there doing their jobs so that we can continue to enjoy Dewey the way that we do it. I believe the town has to be focused on the long-term plan, on the infrastructure. I do believe that we need to look at where we have flooding issues and other, such as hardtop issues, and we need to fix those things because it's just part of what you should be doing as a town manager and as a commissioner. We need to look at how we continue with public safety and how we can really drive more value. I think everyone looks at the value of their home, and it definitely has gone up over the last few years, and it's going to continue to go up. No other town has a park to the south and the bay and the beach, and there's nowhere like this in the world, and we need to continue to try to make it a better place in every way, shape, or form. Last thing I'd like to address actually there's two things I'd like to address. There's been some mudslinging among the three people that are running town. It's completely uncalled for, and it's not necessary. You've got three individuals who have basically stepped up in a volunteer capacity to run as commissioner, an unpaid role. You should just say thank you. There should not be anything said that's wrong about anyone. You should just say ask them about their policies, and you should vote based upon who you think is going to be best to run this town and to help the town manager do his or her job for the future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Bill. At the risk of coming out of my bubble here where Todd has set me to be, I'll come out so you can see me in the camera. Bill, that was great what you just said, the mudslinging, that sort of thing. Dewey Beach is a great place. You guys, I want to thank you for being here today. And thank you for volunteering. It is an unpaid job. It is a big responsibility. All of us, business community, residents, we all count on you to take good care of our town and keep it that special place that we all know it is and why we're living here. I hope you guys out there watching have learned more about each of our candidates and they've helped understand their platform a little bit better. We strongly encourage all of you to vote this year. It means a lot, especially to us business people, as a lot of our businesses in this town, business owners and operators, we don't have the ability to vote. So we're counting on you, our patrons, to get out there and vote with our businesses and your businesses in mind. We need to keep Dewey's economy thriving, and it helps to have you come in and all of the people in the surrounding community come in to visit us. I particularly want to thank Vince and Drew at the Hyatt for helping us set up today, and again GCFL Productions for doing our video, Monty for providing us with GCFL Productions, as well as all the things that you do as our president of the Dewey Beach Business Partnership, and the town of Dewey Beach for giving us this lovely space here and our new beach, making Van Dyke Street a very special street to be on. Everyone, be safe, and thank you for watching. We're all good.